Darren Ravel at the National here on Collect TV, and joining me now is Dan Wulkan from Memory Lane. Dan, you've been to how many nationals?
About 25. That's
Okay,
really dating myself.
okay. Well, you already have gray hair, so we know you're old.
I colored it gray.
So did I.
Some go dark, I go lighter.
Okay, so how would you rate this national in terms of crowd, people coming up to the booth, and what they're liking?
I'll tell you what, people have been coming in droves. It's incredible with the population of people that have come to the show. This has to be a record. It has to be over 150,000 people, in my opinion, for this whole show for the 5 days. People are coming up and spending money. And that's the great part about obviously us coming here. We come here to sell, we come here to get consignments, but the it's hot. Things are hot. And it's a good market. And people are spending money, which is very healthy, for the whole
Even though
market.
the economics at large don't necessarily say that, which potentially means that they're spending the money here over other things because, the passion of collecting is driving them to say, I want to do this.
Yeah, and you know what? I say that this industry is like the mob. Once you're in, you're in. You can't get out. But people will spend mortgage money. That's how passionate people are when it comes to collecting. So they may not pay their mortgage, and they might buy something, be 2 months behind, and because they really want to get that piece.
Maybe you want to buy Thurman Munson's mortgage instead of take care of your own mortgage.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. Signed 5 times.
What's the coolest thing you sold?
A 1976 Twinkies in the wrapper.
And who bought it?
Am I allowed to say it on live TV? We're going to go
Yes.
right now. 3, 2, 1. Darren Ravel. Bam.
There it is. What an amazing piece.
Twinkie the kid with the eyes.
What an amazing piece. We're going to have to do some more research on the provenance of this. But I will, out of anyone who entered here, I will take this thing to the hilt.
Absolutely.
I will
There's
leave
no
nothing.
one.
I will leave no cream unturned.
I will leave no Twinkie unturned.
That's right. Did you see the Twinkie in my eye?
Yes. And
Yeah.
is it funny that I heard you're getting a new dog? You're going to name him Twinkie?
I am not getting a new dog. Dogs are not in my future. But I'm glad you didn't ask. I'm glad you didn't disclose the price because I
Yeah.
told my wife it was $5.
And no change.
Yes.
But the asking price was $5,000.
Right.
But
It really was
$5.
Yes. So what else was? What other interesting items have you sold?
I'll tell you, I had a pardon signed by Abraham Lincoln, which was amazing. I had a tent type card that was at a restaurant signed by Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio.
Oh, that one. You previewed that. I helped sell that.
Yes.
I deserve a small commission for it. But that, Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe wouldn't sign together, right? Or he would not
Yeah.
sign anything that she signed
Correct.
after she died, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like together. Or maybe the person folded it back and it was later, or was it the same time, or
No,
we don't
it was
know.
on the other side. There were signs for a concert that was going on at that restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
it had the information on both sides.
I always love that. Where do you think we are? You do a lot of documents. Slabbing in the last 5 years has been amazing. Instead of
Yeah.
the trust us, this is real.
Right.
So documents and type ones, where do you think those are going?
I think they're a little bit above their infancy stage, but I think there's still so much room for the value to go up. PSA does such an incredible job in making items look like they belong in the Smithsonian. I mean, these jumbo holders, they've become timeless.
They take money from you in terms of they're providing value, but they're adding value. For
Adding
sure.
adding 5x. I mean, it's astronomical what it costs, and not only the money, but how fast it will sell.
Yes.
And how attractive they are. Whether you have an autographed photo of Michael J. Fox, a vintage photo, slabbed. It looks beautiful. I just sold it today for $300. It's a vintage autograph, extremely fair price, but in that slab, it's going to sell.
You have straddled the line by taking consignments from people in the book world, right, where they don't slab it, where they
Right.
vehemently don't slab it,
Right.
to then bringing it over to is that opportunity drying up because people people know more about the PSA?
As far as books are concerned,
Yeah, the book world,
you
the
know,
document world.
I sold a book signed by Pablo Escobar and his group with his thumbprint. Books are a little bit tough though to present. So
Don't have the population reports that cards do, or
right,
yeah.
and they're very. I mean, I have an Andy Warhol book. It's signed inside. I have a Dr. Seuss book. It's signed inside. So it's tough to, the appeal is not as big when they can get a cut of Dr. Seuss or Andy Warhol. They can get a postcard from one of his
Right.
art exhibits.
How am I going to display it? I'm going to have to open it up on the shelf. Doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. It's just you throw it on the shelf and it collects dust on the dust cover.
Right. Autographs. Where do you think they're going in general?
You know what? It's great that there are no comps when it comes to a lot of these autographs. They're one-offs. So like a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X.
Depends what it's on. Depends how good it is.
Yes.
There's
yeah.
not enough of them. You can't say, oh, 9 recently sold for this.
Right.
Does that make your job more fun?
It makes it fun, but it's also challenging when someone comes to the table, sees that I have Disney checks,
Right.
and they go on eBay and say, well, that one went for $5,300. How are you asking $8,500?
Better auto, better story.
Correct. 1,000%. And they have to understand that. So I think there's still an education that
You know what you have
to
to
be.
say? You have to say, that's a rainbow schism optic compared to a base card.
Done and done. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. We are talking a different language
Correct.
than the card people because they look at it and say, well, it sold yesterday for.
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of crossover because that gentleman who was looking at the Disney check is a card guy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of crossover, which is great, so they can start collecting their Abraham Lincolns with their shiny 105s or 101s,
Last question. We have not seen a jump in historical like we've seen with Disney and Martin Luther King and Washington and Lincoln.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have bought a Lincoln for $3,500 5 years ago. Now you can't sniff it at $12,000.
Even a check for $8,500.
Yeah.
Now they're $25,000 to $35,000.
Why has that happened?
Scarcity. People understanding they're drying up. When someone sees a Lincoln that can afford it, they buy it. And that's there's no holds bar. Whatever it costs, they're going to pay the money.
And they're drying up more than the 1986 Fleer PSA 10 Jordans.
Done and yes, you're right. You're right.
Dan Wulkan of Memory Lane. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for selling me the Twinkie.
Done.